Today I'm going to show you how to sew a really quick and easy Christmas stocking ornament. The printable pattern pieces for this ornament are below in a link in the description box. It is part of our 25 days of Christmas ornament sewing patterns. And if you want to, you can check out all of our other ones as well. Feel free to take a picture or screenshot of this page. You can use any materials you want to make your ornament. This gives you some ideas of different things that I've used to make my different ornaments. So after you have your pattern pieces printed out, go ahead and cut 2 of each. For your stocking pieces, you're cutting 2 mirrored, which basically means stack your fabric on top of each other and then trace and cut them out. So that way they lay like this. You have 2 stocking cuffs that will go to the top of the stocking and 1 hanging loop. If you are embroidering names on this, make sure you go ahead and embroider it on the stocking cuff before we start sewing. So with the right sides of your fabric together, lay your stocking cuff across the top of your stocking piece and sew using about a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Press your cuffs upwards and you're going to do the same thing for both of them. The next thing you're going to do is get your hanging loop. I'm using a 1/4 inch organza ribbon. You can use twine, yarn, whatever you want to use, and get your raw edges together crisscrossed at the top. And then you're going to lay this right at the corner, back corner of your stocking, kind of diagonally. Now we're just going to put a couple of stitches right there in the corner to hold this hanging loop in place. And this will not show on your finished ornament, so don't worry about how it looks. Now we're going to go ahead and put that hanging loop towards the middle of our stocking and pin this in place so that way when we're sewing these 2 pieces of your stocking together, we don't accidentally catch this hanging loop in our seam allowance. Make sure the ball of your pin is towards the right side of your ornament. That's important, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Now go ahead and lay your fabric with the right sides together and then pin or clip all the way around. I like to also clip right at my right seam allowance and about 1.5 inches below that to remind me not to sew that area closed. Now starting at the very bottom clip, we're going to sew all the way around our stocking, ending at the top clip to remind us we're not sewing this area closed in between those clips. I used about a 1/4 inch seam allowance and stayed right close to the edge. Use a small narrow stitch to sew this to get around your corners and your curves really nicely. And here is my whole opening. It was important to leave that pin, like I said, so that way we can go ahead and pull it out through this opening before we flip it right side out. Now we're going to trim down our seam allowance just a little bit. If you don't have pinking shears and you're making several ornaments, I highly recommend them. That way, when you're clipping your corners, you can use scissors as well, but you won't have to cut a bunch of small slits around all the curves of your fabric with scissors going right up to your stitches. You can just use the pinking shears so that way it lets your fabric lay nicely and your seams won't pucker. That fabric won't pucker around your seams when we flip this right side out, because when you're sewing curves, it tends to do that sometimes. Don't clip the area where your hole opening is. Here is mine all done. Now I'm going to flip this right side out, and because I used my pinking shears, I don't have to worry about my fabric puckering around all of those curves. Now again, if you're using regular scissors, cut small slits around all of your curves right up to the stitches, but making sure not to cut through your stitches. At your hole opening, we left a little bit of fabric there that we didn't trim, so that way we can press it inwards about 1/4 inch so that it's flush with the rest of the fabric on the outer ornament. And then we're going to press it flat with our iron to hold that in place and to get out any wrinkles of our ornament. If you want to add some structure to your ornament, You can go ahead and add some polyfill stuffing or whatever stuffing you have on hand now. I'm going to go ahead and iron this flat to get out any wrinkles and to hold that opening fabric the way I want it to, and then we're going to go ahead and sew this closed. You don't have to sew the opening closed if you don't want to. You can just put a little dot of hot glue right at the opening. You can also top stitch around the entire ornament, or you can just hand stitch it closed using a blind ladder stitch. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and have fun sewing along with me. Please, please, please like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel to see all of our easy sewing patterns as they're released. Visit AlohaSewingCompany.com, or the link is down below in the description box on YouTube to see all of our super easy sewing patterns that you can print at home so you can start to sew faster. We make sewing patterns for literally everything, from baby items, kids' clothes, decorations, holiday stuff and gifts, bags and more. And before you go, mahalo.